Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, women and gentle germs, this is the one and only Griffin G. Chow coming at you today with episode number 7. That's right, you heard it here first. This is episode number 7 of the Moonkast. The Moonkast has been brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Chow. Release date to be announced. Today is January 28th, 2016. As I've mentioned before, this is the 7th episode. So I'm picking up steam here, bringing you the weekly analysis in the National Basketball Association, the NBA, a little bit of college, and also a little bit of NFL. I'm glad you could be here today. If you have missed any of the previous Moonkast, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and you just type in Moonkast. That's MOONKAST. You can also find me on Twitter at Griffin_Gchild. That's GRIFFIN_Gchild, GCHILD. I'm very excited today. Like I said, this is episode number 7. There were a few things I wanted to talk about last week, but I'm going to have to postpone those things. I wanted to bring you the Scottie Pippen effect, and I do apologize. I'm going to have to push that off. I was also going to talk about the top 10 players at each position. ESPN released the greatest players at each position with the top 10, and so I'm going to have to push that off for now because I have a few more things I wanted to get to. We want to talk about my Super Bowl pick first. We were able to watch the games over the weekend, so I'm going to give you my Super Bowl pick. We are still going to talk about the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, and the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about the latest NBA trade rumors or speculation, things that I've been hearing. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the coaching disaster or the coaching situation with the firing of the head coach, David Blatt. We're going to talk about the big game on Monday, the Golden State Warriors versus the San Antonio Spurs. We're also going to give you a update on Ben Simmons, the projected number 1 draft pick in the NBA draft. We're going to give you an update on him. He plays for the Tigers, the LSU Tigers. So we're going to talk about those things in this week's show. And like I said, in the future Mooncast, we will get into the Scottie Pippen effect. That has been forthcoming for a while now, but like I said, I have to push that off. We want to get into these other things on this one, so just stay tuned for those. You will hear these other topics in a future Mooncast. We're also going to go over the night in the NBA, January 27th. We're going to go over the night in the NBA. We're going to go over the scores, and we're also going to go over the latest standings in the NBA. So we're going to talk about all of those things in this podcast. So I'm very excited and delighted that you are here with me today. And we're going to take a pause for a station identification. And I will be back with you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. All right, I am back. This is Griffin G. Chow coming back at you once again with the 7th episode of the Moonkast. The Moonkast has been brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Chow. Release date is still to be announced. Now, we're going to start the show off with a little bit of NFL news, and then I'm going to go ahead and move on. we're just going to talk about the conference championships real quick. The Denver Broncos beat the New England Patriots with a score of 20-18. I had actually picked Tom Brady and the Patriots to move on and get past the Broncos. Looks like the Denver defense was able to hold Tom Brady in check in this game, and they weren't able to make it. With Peyton Manning going to the championship, I've been hearing a lot of analysis on this Denver Broncos team is similar to the 2000 Baltimore Ravens team and I believe it's the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Those were two teams who had great defenses and where the quarterback play wasn't spectacular, but the quarterback play didn't cost them the game. And so it looks like Peyton, if all the chips fall into the right place, that he will be able to ride this defense into the Super Bowl and hopefully bring it back to the state of Colorado. We're going to go ahead and talk about the Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals. The Carolina Panthers obliterated Arizona Cardinals with the score of 49-15. The defense completely ate up Carson Palmer. A lot of interceptions, a couple of pick sixes. They just got obliterated out there. Cam Newton dancing, having fun, having a good time. I know the critics don't like it, but you have to be able to stop them. So right now, nobody's stopping them. That's just pretty much how it is. Looking at the Super Bowl matchup, you're going to have Cam Newton versus Peyton Manning. It's hard to say. I would kind of like to see Peyton Manning win because this may be one of his last seasons. I'd like to see him win going on the way out, but this could be the year of Cam. This just could be the year of Cam Newton. Now, this could just be his time to actually win. I'm going to have to go with Cam Newton on this one. It could just be his time. Of course, it would suck to see Peyton Manning go out without a ring. He's been to the Super Bowl. I believe this will be his fourth trip. He's only won one out of the three so far. So I've heard that he is the greatest regular season quarterback of all time, but playoff time he doesn't deliver. So I would like to see Peyton Manning win it, but I'm going to have to go with Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going to stick with the Carolina Panthers in this one. And I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm going to give you a score as well. I'm going to go with a score of 35 to 18. That's the score I'm going to go with. So I'm going to predict a dominant blowout by Cam Newton, 35 to 18. That's the score I'm going to go with. So moving right along, let's go ahead. We're going to switch gears. Because like I said, I'm not a huge NFL guy. Like I said, if the people demand it, I'll give you a little bit more. But we're going to go ahead and switch gears, and we're going to talk about the NBA. We're going to start off and talk about the big game on Monday night, actually, which was January 25th. That was the game, the clash of the Titans, basically. The San Antonio Spurs took on the Golden State Warriors. And so we're going to talk about that game real quick before we get into the scores from Wednesday night's games. San Antonio Spurs were destroyed and dominated by the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors won that game 120-90. The only thing with the Spurs losing is I don't believe that the Spurs showed their full hand. And you know, the NBA could be like a game of poker. I believe the Spurs don't want to show anything that they're going to do against Golden State right now. I believe they're going to save it for a matchup in the playoffs. I'm going to have to take this loss with a grain of salt just because the Spurs, they have a smart front office. They're a first-class organization, and they have great coaching. And so I don't think Popovich wants to show anything that Golden State can use in the film session and that they can use to make adjustments in the future. So it was total domination. The Warriors, once again, they're just playing on a whole nother level. The rest of the NBA is not even on that level right now. So it was a dominant performance. I'm going to pull up the box score and take a look at the actual scores from that game just to see what the points were. Stephen Curry had a phenomenal performance of 37 points. Looks like it was a balanced effort throughout. Let's look here. Sean Livingston, Brandon Rush, Maurice Spates, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. So I just rattled off 5 other players in double figures. So they had 5 players in double figures. Curry leading the way with 37. It makes Golden State tough to beat when you can get six or more guys in scoring double figures. That makes any NBA team actually tough to beat. Where David West, Kawhi Leonard, and the big fella, Marjanovic, he had 12 points. David West had 12 points. Kawhi Leonard had 16 points. Not a good showing at all from LaMarcus Aldridge. But if you look at the minutes, let me give you the minutes real quick. LaMarcus Aldridge, Kawhi Leonard, Jonathan Simmons off the bench. They are the only 3 players who actually played more than 20 minutes. LaMarcus Aldridge, Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, and Jonathan Simmons are the only 4 players on the Spurs roster that played over 20 minutes in that game. Where you look at the Golden State Warriors, they have Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala, Leandro Barbosa. So I just rattled off 6 to 7 players who played over 20 minutes in that game. That can kind of tell you right there that the Spurs weren't trying to show their full hand. They weren't playing their best players. Tim Duncan didn't play in this game, another rest for his knee. And so that just gives you an idea right there that the Spurs weren't playing at 100%. And I believe it was done intentionally just because they don't want to show Golden State what they're doing right now. They want to save it for a playoff matchup. All right, so as I said before, Golden State, they pretty much relied on Stephen Curry to lead the way. Like I said, I wouldn't throw dirt on the Spurs. So the Spurs are different from the rest of the league, so you're going to have to stay tuned for the second matchup because they're going to play them again. I'll talk about that in a future Mooncast. They still haven't played the Oklahoma City Thunder yet. I will also talk about that in the future Mooncast. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into some of the scores from Wednesday night's game, January 27th. The Cavaliers have won 2 straight since firing David Blatt. They beat the Phoenix Suns 115-93. Easy win. Phoenix Suns do not have Eric Bledsoe. They do not have Brandon Knight. They're 2 leading scorers, so that should have been an easy win. So they did what they were supposed to do. They took care of business against the Suns. Boston Celtics beat the Denver Nuggets 111-103. The Pistons beat the 76ers 110-97. The Atlanta Hawks lose to the Los Angeles Clippers 85-83. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 126-123. That was a great game, very entertaining game there. Let's look at a few numbers from that game real quick. Kevin Durant had 27 points, 9 rebounds. Russell Westbrook had 24 points and 15 assists. Andrew Wiggins led the way for the Timberwolves with 20 points. And Karl Anthony Towns, he has to be the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. He's playing great. He is everything that they said he would be. Only 19 years old, so he's playing really good. Karl Anthony Towns, 19 points and 13 rebounds. That is very impressive for a 19-year-old rookie, big man. So that was a very exciting game there. So let's keep on rolling. Let's look at a few more numbers from Wednesday night's action. The San Antonio Spurs, they crushed the Houston Rockets 130-99. The Utah Jazz beat the Charlotte Hornets 102-73. And the mighty Warriors once again. Golden State blew out the Dallas Mavericks 127-107. Let's look at a few numbers from that game as well real quick. So Stephen Curry, he had a slow game actually with 14 points. Klay Thompson had an explosive game, 45 points, 14 out of 20 shooting from the field. So a hot on fire game for Klay Thompson. He has been known to go off and score in bunches in a lot of these games. Coming off the bench, nothing major there for the Warriors. The Dallas Mavericks, they played without Dirk Nowitzki. Chandler Parsons led the way there with 23 points. And you also have Raymond Felton, 12 points. J.J. Barrera, 14 points. Dwight Powell, 11 points. So, phenomenal performance for Klay Thompson, 45 points. I wish I'd have picked him in fantasy. I actually didn't pick him, so I actually lost out on that. So that's pretty much the night in the NBA. One more tidbit, one more thing I wanted to mention. DeMarcus Cousins has been playing sensational basketball, having a season high of 56 points scored. Let's take a look at that real quick. Sacramento is a team I talked about last week. Like I said, I believe that DeMarcus Cousins is the best big man since, you can either go Tim Duncan or since Shaquille O'Neal. But I have to say that he is the best big man. He's phenomenal. He can shoot the three. He can play in the post. I think he's a phenomenal big man. His downfall may be that he doesn't have a player on his team that is better than him to help lead and guide him, because he does have the attitude issues sometimes. I think the key for him is playing with somebody who will be just as good, who's just as good as he is, that can help him keep his attitude in check. So they actually lost that game, but it was the Sacramento Kings versus the Charlotte Hornets in double overtime, 129 to 108 on Tuesday night. So he had a big game of 56 points. And the night before that, I believe he had 50 points again. So he had 56 points and 12 rebounds. Rajon Rondo had 7 points, 20 assists, and 10 rebounds in that game. So the Sacramento Kings, I told you, they are a team to look for. They might be able to sneak in and get that 8th seed. Be on the lookout for them. So, having said that, we're going to talk about the NBA standings next. And we're also going to talk about the Knicks, the Chicago Bulls, and the Boston Celtics. But before I get into that, we're going to take a pause for a station identification. And I will be back with you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. Alright, once again, I am back. The Moonkast has been brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the double album from yours truly, Griffin G. Child, release date to be announced. So, we're going to go over the standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. We just want to see where all the teams are. If the playoffs started today, who would be in, who would be out? We're going to start with the Western Conference. The Portland Trailblazers playing pretty good basketball, despite the loss of Nicholas Batum, Wesley Matthews, and LaMarcus Aldridge. They're playing some pretty good basketball. They're actually sitting in 8th place with a record of 21 wins, 26 losses. The Sacramento Kings, they were holding the 8th place, but they dropped too many games. Sacramento Kings are in 9th place right now with 20 and 25. Utah is 20 and 25 as well. So Sacramento is your 9th place team. Utah's the 10th. Portland sitting in the 8th spot, 21-26. The Houston Rockets, they lost tonight to the Spurs, as I mentioned earlier. They are sitting with a 25 and 23 record. Dallas Mavericks are 26 and 22. The Memphis Grizzlies, 26 and 20 in 5th place. 4th place goes to the Clippers, 30 and 16. 3rd place goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder at 35 and 13. San Antonio Spurs are coming in 2nd place with a phenomenal record, 39 and 7. And the Golden State Warriors, like I said, they're head and shoulders above everybody else with a record of 42 and 4. So Golden State's on a 5-game winning streak. Right, so let's go ahead and switch over to the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference, Charlotte is on the outside looking in 9th place. They have a record of 22 and 24. The New York Knicks are also on the outside looking in with a record of 22 and 25. So Charlotte 9th place, Knicks is 10th place Indiana Pacers have dropped to 8th place, 23-22. The Miami Heat is in 7th place. They were number 1 at one point, so the Miami Heat 7th place, 25-21. Detroit Pistons 25-21. Boston Celtics 26-21 in 5th place. 4th place, Chicago Bulls. They had won a nice amount of games. We're going to get into them shortly. 25-19. Atlanta Hawks 27-20. They are in 3rd place right now. The Toronto Raptors on a 9-game winning streak. They're actually the hottest team in the Eastern Conference right now. They are sitting at 30-15. And in 1st place, the Cleveland Cavaliers with a 32-12 record. The Cavaliers, like I said, they're trying to hold off the Raptors. The Raptors are just 3 games behind. We're going to get into the Cavaliers here shortly as well. So those are pretty much your standings. Once again, Indiana, Miami, Detroit, Boston, Chicago, Atlanta, Toronto, Cleveland. On the East Coast from 8-1. West Coast, Portland, Houston, Dallas, Memphis, Los Angeles Clippers, Oklahoma City Thunder, San Antonio Spurs, and Golden State from 8-1. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and shift gears now. We're going to talk about the New York Knickerbockers, the New York Knicks. As I mentioned before, they are sitting in 10th place in the Eastern Conference. The New York Knicks, they picked up Phil Jackson and Derek Fisher. Phil Jackson, he leads all the front office decisions. He drafted Kristaps Porzingis in the draft. A lot of critics and naysayers didn't like the pick, but now they are eating their words as Kristaps Porzingis has turned out to be a nice rookie who could be an all-star coming up in the future. Let's go ahead and look at their roster real quick. I just want to go over some of the names on the roster as far as the players that they have. So, off-season additions, they picked up Aaron Aflalo. I like Aaron Aflalo a lot. He is a perimeter defender, guy that can shoot the spot up 3. He's a pretty good player. They picked up Jose Calderon. They picked up Jerian Grant in the draft. He came out of Notre Dame, but I believe they got him, as I spoke about in a previous Moonkast. They made a trade with the Atlanta Hawks to pick up Jerian Grant. As I mentioned before, they picked up Kristaps Porzingis in the draft. They also picked up Sasha Vujacic. He's an ex-Lakers player. He won 2 titles on that Lakers 2009 and 2010 championship team. They picked up Derek Williams. He's the 2nd draft pick. He got drafted behind Kyrie Irving, I believe, in the 2011 draft. Derek Williams is from he got drafted out of Arizona. He got drafted by Sacramento. Didn't quite live up to his potential. The Knicks picked him up, and he is playing pretty good in a reserve role for the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks also picked up Robin Lopez, who's a very good big man. He hustles, plays his position well. You don't find him out of position. He's a good big man to have on the roster. So the Knicks are fighting for that 8th playoff spot. Of course, we all know the Knicks are led by Carmelo Anthony. I do feel that Carmelo Anthony made a couple of mistakes in his career. I felt that he may have been better off if he would have stayed in Denver originally. Once he left Denver and went to New York, I believe he would have been better in Chicago. You would have put him with Jimmy Butler, Pau Gasol. I believe the Bulls would have been phenomenal. Could have made a run to the finals. So if he never makes it to the finals, in my opinion, it is his own doing that will keep him from winning that championship. I feel that he is a great one-on-one scorer, but he needs to have the right playmakers and defenders around him to take it to the next level. And I believe that the Bulls had that team that would have been great for him. And maybe if he would have stayed in Denver. Let's go over some stats for the Knicks real quick. Carmelo is leading the team in scoring with 21 points a game. Kristaps Porzingis is coming in 2nd with 14 points a game. Kristaps Porzingis is leading the team in rebound for 7.8 rebounds a game. So that's very impressive for a rookie. So those are pretty much your 2 team leaders in points and rebounds. Let's look at who's leading the team in assists real quick. Jose Calderon with 4 assists a game. I do believe that for them to make that big push, they're going to need a better point guard, or they're going to need better point guard play. Jose Calderon is a very nice guard. He's just more suited to come off the bench in a secondary role. So they do need a leading guard. Maybe Jerry Grant will take that role as he continues to blossom. But at this point, that could hinder them from really making a real playoff push. Now, I have heard rumors of the New York Knicks trying to make a move for Jeff Teague from the Atlanta Hawks, because the Atlanta Hawks, I do believe that they may want to turn the team over to Dennis Schroeder, who I mentioned in a previous Moonkast that Dennis Schroeder had already said that he wanted a starting position, but he will not get that starting position with Jeff Teague in front of him. I haven't heard any pieces that the Knicks would give up to get Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague is having a down year. I do believe his down year could be contributed to he has some ankle issues. So usually when a guard has ankle problems, it's going to affect his performance. So the Knicks are in a good place right now for the future. Derek Fisher is the coach. You gotta give him time to learn the job and to learn the players and to build a system. So we're going to go ahead and keep on moving. We're going to talk about the Boston Celtics now. The Boston Celtics are actually sitting with a 26-21 record. They are in the playoff hunt. This is a team that has a lot of young, talented defensive players, but they don't have a true superstar. The Boston Celtics are coached by Brad Stevens. He is an up-and-coming legendary coach in the making, I do believe. He started off in Butler on the college level, Butler University. He actually got Butler to a couple of Final Fours, and they actually came one half-court shot or half-court heave away from winning the national title against the Duke Blue Devils a few years ago. So he is a coach to keep your eye on if he decides to leave Boston, or if he doesn't have the success in Boston. He is a guy that you can keep your eye on going forward. He works really well with young players. As you can see, Boston has a young roster. So he works really well with young players, getting them to buy into his system and also to execute the offense. They have Isaiah Thomas, who they acquired in a trade with Phoenix last year. Isaiah Thomas is a very good player. He's really short, but he is an offensive scoring machine. And I believe he is leading the team in scoring. Let's look at his numbers real quick. So Isaiah Thomas is averaging 21 points a game. Now, he was coming off the bench earlier in the year, but now I believe he is starting for the team. Avery Bradley is averaging around 14.8 points a game. Jay Crowder is averaging 14.5 points a game. Now, the Boston Celtics picked up Terry Rozier out of the University of Louisville with the 16th pick in the 2015 NBA draft. They also picked up another one of my favorite young shooters, RJ Hunter. I believe they picked him up with the late 28th pick in the 2015 NBA draft. He is a very nice shooter. He may not get the playing time right now because he's young, but he can shoot the lights out. Not able to get his own shot at this time yet, but he is a guy that you can kick it out to and get a shot. Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, two very good perimeter defenders. Recently, Avery Bradley has been complaining. He does not like his contract. He signed a 4-year, $32 million deal about a season ago, but he was hurt a lot when he signed that contract. So at that time, the contract was reasonable. Now that he is not hurt, he's playing a lot of games, and his points is going up. I believe he wants a new contract, but rarely do you see an NBA team tear up a contract and issue another one. You really don't see that much. So they also have Evan Turner. He's a nice kind of a point forward, can handle the ball, play small forward. Kelly Olynyk, decent big man, can step out and hit the open 18-footer. Jaren Sullinger can step out and shoot, also play in the post. They have Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart doesn't really have a jump shot yet. He's a pretty nice defender. He plays better in the paint. Marcus Smart. They picked up Amir Johnson. He's a nice veteran. Big man, came from the Toronto Raptors. And they also picked up David Lee in a trade with the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors traded him. He's another veteran big man, has a nice presence and can really contribute. So they have a nice team, a real pesky team. They're the type of team that gives you fits, but they don't quite have that superstar that can just take them over the hump. Now they do have Brooklyn's first round unprotected draft pick in this upcoming 2016 NBA draft, so they could use that draft pick to get that star. Maybe a Ben Simmons. You never know. Boston's sitting pretty right now. Boston, they're not doing too bad. I'm not for sure how far they can make it in the playoffs because they don't have that dominant star. Isaiah Thomas, he's a very nice player, but he can't be your best player. I think he is best served in a reserve role, but right now I believe he is starting for the offensive scoring punch. And I am hearing that he may be announced as an all-star reserve, as the all-star reserves will be announced on TNT. So if you're a big fan of the NBA all-star reserves will actually be announced later today on TNT. And so in the next Moonkast, I'll probably give you my analysis on that as far as if I agree with the picks or not. Most cases I'll probably agree because there's been a lot of guys that have played some good ball. Isaiah Thomas is one of them. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our last NBA team. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls. All right, so the Chicago Bulls, they have a 25-19 record. They are currently in 4th place in the East behind the Atlanta Hawks, behind the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Chicago Bulls, they fired their coach from last year, Tom Thibodeau. Very defensive-minded, grinded-out type of coach. What I was hearing that he had issues with upper management, maybe playing the guys too many minutes, causing guys to get burned out, guys to be tired. Derrick Rose, who's a former MVP, he was MVP in 2011. Phenomenal, sensational guard as far as getting to the basket. He's had a lot of surgeries on both knees. He also had an orbital fracture in his face. He got hit in the face in the practice. He's not the same explosive Derrick Rose he used to be. And there has also been other guards just as explosive. You talk about Curry, Kyrie Irving. There's so many Chris Paul. There's so many other guards out there that he's kind of fell back, and it's not really his team the way it used to be. It seems like it's more Jimmy Butler's team. So with Tom Thibodeau being fired, the Bulls brought in Fred Hoiberg, who is more of the offensive-minded coach. He's a more calm, laid-back coach. There were statements I talked about in the previous Mooncast where Jimmy Butler came out and said he wanted to be pushed harder in practice. So the style of the team is more offensive-oriented. When the season started, they started off with Mirotic starting. Mirotic has had an appendectomy, surgery to his appendix. So he's going to be out until after All-Star break. There's no release date yet. A crushing blow to the team has been Joakim Noah. He had surgery on his shoulder. He's supposed to be out 4 to 6 months, which in my opinion, that's pretty much the whole season, unless he's able to make it unless the Bulls go deep into the playoffs and he can come back. They picked up Pau Gasol 2 seasons ago. Pau Gasol has been playing phenomenal. I do hope he gets the All-Star bid. He's playing some great ball at his age. No slippage at all. It seemed like in his last year with the Lakers, he didn't play that great. But since he's got with the Bulls, he's been having a great season. The Bulls, they drafted Doug McDermott last year. He's a catch-and-shoot three-point guy like a Cal Korver. He's had some moments this season. Just have to wait on him. The big-name guy they picked up in last year's draft, Bobby Portis. He's a guy that's getting more playing time for the Bulls. I look to see him play more and grow more, and he could make Joakim Noah expandable actually in the offseason. They also have Taj Gibson, who's a hardcore player. I like his game. He's a blue-collar guy. He's a workhorse. He plays good defense. He scores when needed. They have a good backup point guard in Aaron Brooks. He's very nice with the backup duties. They also have Tony Snell. He's a nice young small forward. Hasn't quite blossomed, but he does play fairly well from time to time. So the team, they have a really good roster. They could challenge the Cavaliers and the Raptors. They have beaten the Cavaliers twice this year, though LeBron has owned the Chicago Bulls every time they face the Bulls in the playoffs, his teams have beat the Bulls every time. But, this year could be different. Mike Dunleavy, he had a big-time surgery on his back, and he hasn't played this season. But he is a solid veteran that can step out and shoot the three whenever they can get him back. You also have Etwan Moore. He's a young player. He's a guy that comes in off the bench that can help out. They have some pieces here. I do believe that Jimmy Butler is their best player, and I believe the team will go how he goes. Jimmy Butler had a 53-point game this year. He also had a game this year where he scored 40 points in the second half. So I am looking for the Bulls to make some serious noise come playoff time. Just keep your eye on the Bulls. They are a team that could make a serious run, just like the Toronto Raptors can. And I talked about them earlier. The Raptors are in second place. They're actually playing better than Cleveland now, more cohesive. And so these are some teams that could knock off the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we just talked about the Knicks, Bulls, and the Celtics. And so we're going to take a break now. We're going to take a pause for station identification, and I will be back with you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. Once again, I am back. The Moonkast has been brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly. Release date is still to be announced. So, we're going to go in and talk about the Cavaliers for a quick second. I know the news is almost a week old. Cleveland Cavaliers fired their coach, David Blatt. The statement that was put out was that the locker room didn't seem to be together, didn't seem to be connected. I've heard so many stories. I've heard that LeBron James never bought in. I heard that David Blatt would hold practices and that he wouldn't hold LeBron accountable in the film sessions or in practice or even doing games when LeBron blew a defensive assignment. He would hold the other players accountable, but not LeBron. So it seemed like David Blatt was a peaceful, humble guy who didn't want to ruffle LeBron James's feathers. And so I believe that caused his demise. I heard that during practice scrimmages, foul calls would be called on LeBron, but not the other guys. And you can't have that kind of favoritism. So it seemed like LeBron just never bought in. I've heard that the team would blow off plays that Blatt would call. They would run their own plays. I heard that they would sit down or they would speak more with Tyronn Lue during games. And even during that massive blowout game against Golden State, where Golden State crushed the Cavaliers, LeBron James was seen sitting in Blatt's chair while Blatt was standing up and coaching the game. LeBron was sitting in his chair talking to assistant coach Tyronn Lue, who is now the head coach. So it seemed like a lot of undermining. I've heard rumors that LeBron wanted Eric Spoelstra fired when he was in Miami, but Pat Riley told LeBron that Spoelstra's not going anywhere. So I've heard a lot of rumors, a lot of hearsay, a lot of things going on. Besides all that, the Cavaliers have had a good season to this point. They can't beat the Spurs or Warriors, but they've had a good season. So it came as a shock and it came as a big disappointment to see him get fired at this time. I would have waited until the off season to let him go. I also do not like the 3-year contract given to Tyronn Lue. I would have liked to have seen Tyronn Lue coach the team and finish out this season and then give him the extension or bring in a coach fresh in the offseason. I believe they would have been better suited with Tom Thibodeau. I'm hearing Tyronn Lue wants to get the team out and running, wants to play more up-tempo. But by playing more up-tempo, guys have to be in shape and ready to go. I've heard that they're in the bottom half of the league in possessions and pace as far as transitioning up and moving up and down the floor. And also another thing that I have heard with Tyronn Lue is most coaches say that, when they come in, we're going to play faster, we're going to get out and run. But a lot of times it doesn't work. I know Memphis said that they were going to play more up tempo and run this year. That hasn't quite panned out. So The coaches can say a lot of things, but sometimes those things are a little hard to execute. This will also be LeBron's 5th head coach in his 8.5 years being in Cleveland. So one thing you can say about the all-time great players, the players who have won championships, they've had stability in the locker room with the head coach and front office. So a lot of coaches getting fired and moved, that doesn't happen a lot as far as winning championships. Now, the 2006 Miami Heat, they actually told Stan Van Gundy to step down for family reasons, and Pat Riley took over. So that is the case where a team has made a coaching decision during the season, but that was actually early in the year. But that was the latest situation I can think of. Also, you have to go all the way back to, I believe it's 1981, where the Lakers had Jeff Heathcote fired and brought in Pat Riley, who Pat Riley wasn't known at that time to be the legend that he became. But as you can see, that he was an up-and-coming legend. And so that is the last time that a team fired a coach during the season, and that coach took them all the way to the championship. Now, of course, it is key that a coach keeps the locker room. I heard that when the Warriors beat the Cavaliers on Christmas, that it was a lot of dissension in the locker room after that game, and they played Portland the very next game. And I'm hearing that they had actually quit on him in that game. That's when they got blew out by the Portland Trailblazers, a game that they shouldn't have had any business losing. I've heard that they quit on Blatt. They were kind of doing their own thing. I've heard that Blatt would draw up a play, LeBron would shake his head, and Blatt would have to erase the play and do the play again. So I've heard a lot of different things. It is disappointing that to hear a coach get fired. But the main thing for me is that I would have been worried about David Blatt having peace of mind. When you're coming into the league and you're coaching a superstar of LeBron James's caliber, I do wonder about him having peace of mind. And so I do believe that maybe not coaching the Cavaliers could be a big relief for him going forward. So, like I said, that's a situation we can talk about for days and days. Hopefully, the Cavaliers are able to turn it around. They're 2-1 since that. They lost the first game with Tyronn Lue against the Bulls, but I do believe that was because everything was just so new. It was so much negative energy. So we'll have to see how they play when they play the Bulls the next time. We'll also have to see if Tyronn Lue makes any adjustments in the rotation, giving some other guys playing time that weren't getting it. I was hearing that Mo Williams was upset with his playing time. So those are just things that I've been hearing. We're going to shift over from that now. Let's just talk about a trade that went down. Josh Smith was traded from the Los Angeles Clippers to the Houston Rockets. He actually helped the Houston Rockets beat the Clippers last year in that 7-game series in the Western Conference semifinals. Josh Smith just didn't seem to fit with the Clippers. He had fell out of the rotation with Doc Rivers, and he just wasn't getting the playing time anymore. And so maybe he'll be a better fit in Houston. That's kind of the biggest trade that's happened this season so far. I have heard Kevin Love trade rumors, but I haven't heard anything in specific as far as any players being exchanged. It's just a bunch of fantasy ESPN trade machine talk where anybody can go on ESPN and make a deal, but it doesn't mean that deal is actually going to go down. So as the trade deadline approaches, you best believe any of the news that you may hear, I will let you know about it. Like I said, the David Blatt firing, that's the biggest news to me. It was a great shock, and I don't feel he was treated properly. At the same time, I know he was brought in to coach a lesser team. He was brought in to coach a developmental team, and I do believe that had a lot to do with his ability to not get along with LeBron, not knowing what he was getting into. But I do believe he's a smart coach. He's coached for 20 years in Israel. Israel does not like LeBron right now. I'm hearing they don't like him because they all love Coach Blatt. And Coach Blatt was actually going to be an assistant coach for Steve Kerr on the Golden State Warriors. So he actually would have a championship ring as an assistant right now. So the man can coach, but just wasn't the right fit. And I am a little disappointed in how he was handled, but we have to move on from there. So we have one last segment to get to. So I'm going to take a pause for a station identification, and we are going to come back for one more segment and close out the show. I will be back with you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. Once again, I am back. This is the last segment of this week's show. Once again, the Moonkast has been brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Chow, release date to be announced. Now, this last segment, we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors real quick, and then we're going to move on and switch over to college for the last segment. So, I wanted to bring up something about the Golden State Warriors real quick. Just wanted to talk about the Golden State Warriors salary cap situation. The Golden State Warriors have two key players with contracts coming up. Harrison Barnes and Festus Ezeli. Now, they're both still under contract, but they have chances to go out into the market and let the market dictate their salary. So it's going to be very key for the Warriors. If the Warriors want to lock up both these two players for the long term, it's going to be interesting to see how much are they willing to pay to play at a championship level. Stephen Curry is going to be locked up a little bit longer with his deal. All right, so I just pulled up the Golden State Warriors salaries. This is very serious as far as Golden State being able to win championships going forward. Harrison Barnes, he is still in his rookie deal. He has one more year after this one in his rookie deal, as well as Festus Ezeli. Now, they can go out, check the open market, and try to get max offers out there. If Golden State decides that they do not want to match those offers, they could lose both those players. If they decide to sign both of those players, they're going to be way over the salary cap. Now, I have heard that they will have $20 million to spend with the new cap increase, and I am hearing that they would be able to fit Kevin Durant into that cap space. I have not heard if Kevin Durant wants to go to Golden State, but I have heard that they can go after him and they can bring him in. So, but just getting back to the salaries real quick. Leandro Barbosa, he is actually a free agent. I'm not for sure if he wants to come back. He's only making $2.5 million. Not for sure if he wants to come back at that low salary. Maurice Spates, they could probably afford to lose him. Brandon Rush, they could probably afford to lose him. James Michael McAdoo, they could probably afford to lose him. But Harrison Barnes and Festus Ezeli, that could be a devastating blow to their championship aspirations as far as becoming a dynasty, winning 4 and 5 titles as time goes on. Like I said, Stephen Curry is under contract for next season as well. He's under contract for the 2016-2017 season. But after that, he's a free agent. And so you're going to have to break the bank to pay him and to keep him. So they're going to have to throw him a lot of money for him to stay. So just keep your eye on that situation. If they do not pay Harrison Barnes, or if they lose Ezeli and Barnes, it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be willing to pay all that money to keep everybody together. Also, after the 2017 season, you're going to have Andrew Bogut, you're going to have Andre Iguodala, with their contracts coming up at the same time as Curry's. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they will be able to keep all of those guys together. Because I do believe if they were to lose a Harrison Barnes or Festus Ezeli, that could put a dent in their championship aspirations going forward. And that may be the only way to beat this team. The only way to beat this team may be through injury or losing a key player because of the contracts. So just keep your eye on that with Golden State. This is something that may take a year or two from now, but you can come back and say you heard it here first. They lose one of those players. So we're going to move on from that. I'm going to talk a little bit of college. There are some big-time college games coming up this Saturday. If you are a college fan, you are not going to want to miss out on Saturday's games. And I'm going to go over the big games for you real quick. On January 30th, if you're a fan of college basketball, keep your eye on these games. LSU will be playing, LSU, they will be playing the Oklahoma Sooners. So you will get a chance to see Ben Simmons go against Buddy Hield. I talked about Buddy Hield last week. He is a sensational guard. He can score a lot of points, can score in bunches. That should be a sensational matchup. Let me get the time for you on that. So just give me a second here and we will pull that up. All right, so Oklahoma, they're the number ranked team in the nation. They will be playing LSU at 3 o'clock p.m. on ESPN. This will be Eastern time. You do not want to miss that game. That is a big time game. You're also going to see number 20 Texas play against number 4 Kansas. That is another big time game right there. So those are two big time games. That is 5 p.m. Eastern. So as I said, you do not want to miss these games. These are some big games that you want to check your local listings for. You want to check ESPN for those big time games right there if you are a fan of college. So LSU playing Oklahoma, you get a chance to see Buddy Hield and Ben Simmons go at it on cable television. Don't want to miss that game. All right, so we want to talk about Ben Simmons in his last game. Actually, first, you also got Louisville ranked 16 playing against the University of Virginia ranked number 11. That's another big time game. That's going to be coming on 11 a.m. CBS. So that game you don't have to have cable. So 11 a.m. CBS, Louisville will be playing the University of Virginia. So you do not want to miss that game right there. So you have University of Virginia playing Louisville at 11 a.m. You have Oklahoma playing LSU at 3 p.m. and you have Kentucky playing Kansas at 5 p.m. These are some big time games you do not want to miss out on. You also have West Virginia playing Florida 10 a.m. on ESPN. Big time college games. If you're a huge fan of college basketball, Saturday should be your day. So if you're on the East Coast, I know you got a lot of snow out there. You can just stay in and pop some popcorn and watch these games. Big time college game day. So let's talk about Ben Simmons real quick. LSU played Georgia yesterday on Tuesday night on the 27th. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that score from that game. The one thing about that game, it seems like the NCAA is actually looking out for Ben Simmons. It seems to me that he is getting a lot of superstar calls, a lot of ticky-tack fouls. That's one thing I don't like about the college game. They call a lot of fouls that are really ticky-tack, and it slows the game down. And so I really don't like that about college basketball. That's why I prefer the pro game better. But LSU, they have a 13-7 record. They're third in the SEC. They played Georgia January 26th, which is Tuesday. They beat Georgia with a score of 89-85. Ben Simmons, like I said, anybody that breathes on him, he was basically getting a lot of calls in that game. We're going to go over the numbers real quick in that game. Ben Simmons had 22 points, 14 rebounds. Tim Quarterman, I told you to look out for Tim Quarterman. 22 points and 6 rebounds. Craig Victor, he had 11 points, 8 rebounds. And Jalen Patterson, the sophomore, he had 11 points for LSU. For Georgia, J.J. Frazier, the junior, he had 26 points in that game. Very impressive game for him. They also had scoring from Kenny Gaines, the senior. He scored 20 points. And they also got 19 points from Charles Mann. So a good performance from Georgia. But like I said, I saw a lot of calls go against Georgia. Ben Simmons is sitting at the free throw line shooting free throws. And so I felt that there has been some favoritism. He knows he's going number one. He seems to be coasting to me. He knows he can get his shot whenever he wants. So sometimes he'll just stay out of the offense. A very interesting stat. LSU is 7-1. They've won 7 games, only lost once, when Ben Simmons scores more than 22 points. When Ben Simmons scores under 22 points, they are 5-6. So they do not win when he doesn't take over and dominate the game. But for what I have seen, a lot of times he'll coast and lay back and let the game come to him. So sometimes he's too unselfish, and it could cost him going into the pros. But for right now, it seems to me like he's just biding his time. I'm not for sure if they will be good enough to get a bid from the NCAA. They're going to have to stay at the top of the conference. They do have a lot of losses, and we're going to have to see when conference tournament time comes up. If they may have to outright win the conference championship to get a bid. If they don't, he may end up in the NIT. You never know. CBS may want him in the tournament, so that may favor the decision where his team will get the bid. They could be a one and out type of team. So we have to see where LSU is going to be at. But as far as him being the real deal, he is the real deal. I'm already seeing some of the favoritism with the calls. So we're going to have to see how it goes from here. Well, this has been a great show, a fantastic show. Episode number 7. Once again, feel free to look up any of the previous episodes. Look me up on YouTube, Moonkast, Moonkast. Just type that in on YouTube. It's going to pop up. You're going to see all the previous Mooncasts that I have recorded so far. Stay tuned. I will be working on my very own website. That will be coming down the line. Not here yet, but it will be coming. So I just wanted to say I thank all the listeners for listening to the show this week. And so let's go ahead and go over a few things. I'm going to keep next week's show kind of a secret as far as what we're going to talk about. As far as the other news, like I said, I'm not sure. You may get the Scottie Pippen effect. You may not. We're going to postpone talking about all these top 50 players. We're going to push that off a few weeks. So I'll let you know when I'm going to get back into that. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's show. Also, feel free to get at me on Twitter. Like I said, the name is Griffin_Gchild. That's at GRIFFIN_Gchild, GCHILD. So thank you for listening. God bless. Signing off. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio.